Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is to talk about Zack's collection. And I refer to it as Zack's patient collection because it was over a number of years that Zack saved up to get his first watch, and then he continued on a progress of getting the collection that he wanted. And he set out at some point, he decided he wanted the Holy Trinity. And so that's something that we'll take a look at, and then I'd like to talk about that some too. By the way, too, I'm wearing my Parmigiani Colpa Grande extra large. And so anyway, so let's talk about Zack's watches. The first two watches I want to take a look at are really very interesting. One I didn't even know existed, and that's the first one. And this is called the Rolex Oyster Quartz. Now, a lot of people, I'll say, oh, they won't have any quartz watches in their collections. All of theirs have to be mechanical. And they certainly don't want any of the modern smartwatches in their collection either. Well, Zack said he didn't care. For one reason, Rolex makes a very good quartz movement. So it's not a matter you're getting some, I don't know, some quartz movement fell out of a tree into a Rolex watch. And this is the Datejust, and for those of you who know or perhaps even own a Datejust, this is this is what they look like. But the bracelet and the shape of this watch is really very different than your typical modern Datejust, and it's a very unique looking watch, and I think it's very cool. By the way, too, I think I keep changing what my favorite Rolex is. The one that I really want to buy is the Rolex Cellini Prince. I like that watch. But this Rolex Datejust, I think a Rolex Datejust, I think is a neat watch too. Now the next one is the Submariner. This is the model 16610, and it's a nice solid example of a Submariner. Now, those of you who are Rolex fans will know every iota about the that model number, and that's how come I thought it was important to put up there. And it's looks like a good standard Submariner. Now, what I know about Submariners is next to nothing, but this one looks like a nice solid example of it from what I could tell. Okay, let's go on now. With these next two watches I like as well. The Omega Speedmaster. Now you can see where it has Dom 26. I think that would be from Domingo, from Sunday, I believe. So it's perhaps a Spanish language, or maybe there's some other language that uses Dom to for one of the days of the week. But this one, boy, this one's got, it has the chronograph, and it has all of the other elements that you find in a Speedmaster. And the dial on it and the tachometer, all of these things are really very, very interesting on this watch. Now, this one's from 1974, which wasn't too long after the first Speedmaster went into space, and I like the way it flows, especially the way the case flows into the bracelet on this watch. This is a neat watch. Now the one next to it is a Universal Geneva, which is another chronograph. It's called the Uni Compax, and it's all the way from 1960, and it's a tad vintage, but it's still a neat example of a neat watch. And I really like the way that the watch, in a way, there's a sort of a, I guess you might call it some kind of sort of like a dial sunburn or some kind of discoloration of the dial, of the original dial. But put together with the cognac colored band, it really works well. So it's sort of a cool watch. And it the way it's set up, it looks like the dial is off center, and it could be the lighting on the way it's lit. But let me put it over to the side. But it could be the angle of the lighting on it. It's sort of a neat watch. Universal Genève it's a very interesting watch company. Okay, now as I mentioned, Zack wanted to uh, make his collection part of the Holy Trinity. And the watches that he got for it are interesting examples. Now, the first one is the Audemars Piguet Quatrain Perpetual, and this watch is one that I may have had. I had a watch something like this. It was an Audemars Piguet from the 1990s, and it had a moon phase, and it had those three subdials of it. It's been a while since I've had it. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but it was something like this. One thing I'll say for Audemars Piguet, that thing was, boy, you wind that up and set it, and it would stay on the right time. It was a very, very good watch. I ended up trading it because of I needed to trade it in order to get the Vacheron Constantin 1921. And it was a relatively small watch, but boy, was it a good watch. Very good. Now, this next one is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Rectangle. And it's a quartz watch as well. And for those of you who are what I'll call a more traditional Royal Oak fans, this one looks somewhat different than what we're used to seeing in a Royal Oak. First of all, it doesn't have that octagonal shape to it, and second of all, it's a quartz watch. But it's an interesting one. This is another thing I think that Zack has done is that say, oh, you got to have this, you have to have this kind of Royal Oak, you have to have this kind of Vacheron Constantin, or whatever else is the correct way to have one. You can't have a quartz. Why not? Audemars Piguet makes their own quartz movement in the same way that Rolex does. So it's a 100% Audemars Piguet watch. All right. So this is another thing, and this takes time. You can like most of us, Zack is not an eccentric millionaire who can go out and buy whatever he wants whenever he wants. But instead, he does it in a very strategic way and very strategic selections that are within his budget, which I think that's the only way to collect watches. You should never, take the kids' college tuition and go with it. Okay, now this next one is another leg of the Holy Trinity of Patek Philippe, and this is a Patek Philippe 3861, the caliber 240 from 1978. Now, the Patek Philippe, I got a vintage Patek Philippe about 10 years older than this one. And the thing about these older Patek Philippe's they're excellent watches. I mean, not just excellent in the sense that they're still ticking, but they're really, really very well made watches. The movement on mine is so smooth. When you wind a watch, it just feels like I have a stick that I'm turning in a case of diamonds that are rolling around it. Just the smoothest winding watch. Keeps excellent time, too. And I'm not sure what this would be. It's not a Calatrava because it's not quite round, and it's not a gondolo because it's not tonneau shape enough. But it's just this. 3861 reference on that. So that's his. The hands are in a little rough shape. I don't know what you do about that, but Patek Philippe's are unique watches in so many different ways, and having one has been a real pleasure. Mine, like I said, mine's 10 years older than this one, my 1968 Calatrava, and I somehow feel I have to be careful when I wear it. And I don't like that with a watch because I like to wear all of my watches all of the time. Some people I know they put one watch in each one. If I didn't have my Fitbit on my other arm, I probably would too. Okay, so this is Zack's Patek Philippe. Now the third leg of the Holy Trinity is a Vacheron Constantin. Now this one from 1967 refers to it as a dress watch, and 2000 something, I think they started calling watches like this the patrimony, or from sort of a patrimony type of style. And the patrimony in Vacheron Constantin is equivalent to, or very similar to, and perhaps in competition with, the Patek Philippe Calatrava. This one, the patrimony, it's one of these elegant dress watches, and they look great, and they just they're really nice watches. The other one is a Harmony. They still have the Harmony series, and I don't know all of the series. The two that I have, the two Vacheron Constantins, one's a 1972, and from the year 2000, and then the other one is let's see, it's from their Historiques collection, and it's the 1921, and it's from, I think, around 2013 or sometime in that time frame. Now this one is sort of the heritage to that from 1980, and this is a beautiful watch. It appears it could be black. Sometimes when you take these pictures, they look brown because of the gold or something will mix with in the picture, and it'll look brownish. This one looks brown to me, and I really like it. Zack says this really looks good with the right formal outfit, and it does add a formality to it. I think it's a very cool watch. Okay, so that's the third tier of the Holy Trinity that Zack got. And like I said, these tend to be vintage versions of it, but so what? And some of them are quartz. Again, so what? they're really cool, and I like them. Okay, now this watch, and I don't even know why I'm saying this or thought this, but at some point, probably more than one person said, well, every collection should have at least one Rolex. Okay, I'm not sure why, but that's all right. I mean, people who love Rolexes, but that makes sense to them. But I was thinking maybe every collection should have at least one Breguet. Abraham Louis Breguet is probably one of the most central figures in mechanical watchmaking. I mean, there are a lot of other ones who are really excellent, both modern and in the past. But Breguet has so many things that he introduced initially, and so identifiable and so something about it. I think that they say, oh, well, they're owned by Swatch and they're not what they used to be. That's probably true with most brands. They're not what they used to be. Some are better, actually. Okay, so this is Zack's Breguet, and I really like it. It's got sort of like a chainmail bracelet on it, and I'm not sure about that. It would be something for very formal kind of occasion. but it looks so Breguet, just the way the guilloche, the hands, the everything about it. Now this is from 1990, and it's a model 3150 manual wine. I love manual wines. Now notice it says JLC 839. And that's because there's a Jaja-LeCoultre 839 movement in it, caliber 839. Not unusual. JLC made a lot of calibers for all of the Holy Trinity, I think. I don't think a single Holy Trinity didn't have it. The fact that Breguet has it doesn't surprise me either. Anyway, like I said, I don't own a Breguet. It's not on my wish list, but I still think that maybe a Breguet would be something that if you have to identify some watch that everyone should have at least one of, it'd be the Breguet, and I don't have one. But I like Breguets a lot. Okay, here's the collection all together. And I love the way it's set up, is that you've got the two winder modules, and then down below you have all of the other watches, or not you, but Zack has them. And I really like this arrangement. I think this is a neat way to do it. Mine are all over the place. So I got some in one case, some in a winder, some in another winder, and I don't even know if it's on or not half the time, and the other ones are in one of my travel places because I ran out of room. But here you got a really nicely organized collection. Okay, well, as always, I'm very interested in seeing what you have to say. What I want to do, I want to have well, today's the day before Labor Day. Tomorrow is Labor Day. I mean, if you see this video later on, it doesn't make any sense, but it came out the day before Labor Day. And so I thought, well, we'll have a streaming discussion later today. So for those of you who are watching it on August, actually it'd be September 2nd, 2018, we'll be having at 4 o'clock Eastern time, that's New York time, 1 o'clock West Coast time, 9 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, 10 o'clock Paris time, and 11 o'clock Norway time. So depending on it. Anyway, so I thought I'd have a streaming, I want to have a streaming discussion about collections, about collection strategies. And another thing that hasn't been discussed too much is how do you really enjoy your collection? I mean, you get to a point, you're looking at the same watch and saying, oh, listen, like my watch. But, there's, what do we do to sort of keep our watches interesting to us? I mean, I look at the one or more watches again and again and again, and I'll put them away for a while, and then they come out and they're almost like new. But it's something I thought it'd be fun to discuss. One more thing, I really want to thank Zack. Not only did he provide me with all the pictures, but he also provided me with a write-up telling me about each watch and where they came up in the collection. Thanks again, Zack. Okay, well, as always, this is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And until next Friday, well, actually, until later today, this is Bill with a streaming video. Otherwise, see you next Friday. Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the Art and Science Watch Collection.